Members, what up? It's Shani with Healing Elements with another podcast. Guys, trying to completely just saturate myself in the last few days, at least, with, topics that I have always been intrigued and fascinated with that, are off the beaten path to, of course, disassociate myself with some serious things that are going around, of course, that may affect you too. The coronavirus and different, notifications that we're getting from our kids' school because there's 2 cases, etc., and just dealing with everything, all the energies and duties of everyday life, etc. I've really tried to saturate myself with reading books. I got like 10 from the library. It was amazing on Sunday on, anything from Confucius to, Abraham Hicks on down to reading entries that in the past 4 years I've written in all these journals. So it is so fun. Again, I've said this before in podcasts. It's so fun for me to go through my journals and pick, whatever sings out to me, whatever I am guided to pick to talk about on podcasts that I have written about in these journals. So one incredibly personal, subject is about using hallucinogenic modalities, drugs, in the form of peyote, ayahuasca, magic mushrooms, acid, aka LSD, to either go on a spirit quest and to either awaken something within you spiritually, if you are not seeking any kind of healing, or most recently, there are so many people who are claiming and actually testifying with beautiful affirmative stories of the therapeutic value, of the healing value of, going into a controlled environment to take these type of drugs. The ayahuasca is the most, talked about, I think, most recently, drug that people fly down to South America sometimes to, take. In a controlled environment, people, even therapists, licensed therapists, have jumped on board and have reported that in a controlled environment, even in, safe microdosing, which is not going to, freak you out, but does, put a tiny subatomic, like a micro dose of the same type of obviously substance in your system and will open, your third eye or your floodgates a little bit so that you still have the capability of perhaps touching something deeper, like as when you're in hypnosis, something deeper to get to the root of what you're going to do to have like a long-term healing, long-term solution on how you can, achieve whatever you are trying to give therapeutic value to. A lot of people have just came up with these beautiful testimonies. Most recently, I'm going to name 2 documentary type of shows that I found were fascinating. One is a series, it's Kentucky Ayahuasca, and the testimonies from these people that go in, and a lot of them have plaguing issues, lifelong issues, maybe of depression, anxiety, suicidal tendencies, addictions, past traumas of rape, molestation, perhaps just deep down grief from losing a loved one that was significant. You name it, people come for all types of reasons, all kind of different traumas and, blocked energy that they feel is impeding, their ability to live their best life. And so this show, Kentucky Ayahuasca, is about a family who, they are shamans and they take people on a guided, and that's the key. I think it is always key to note that in the past, American Native Americans, American Indians, Peruvian shamans, all kind of different South American tribes, always had a master, ascended master, a master shaman, a medicine man or woman guiding those who are wanting to embark on this spirit quest or journey to heal themselves. So, that is one show, and this family does that. They guide these people and really have basically like, psychotherapy or like a therapist type of, psychologist session one-on-one while they are under the influence of ayahuasca. And it is amazing what comes to the surface and what people report that are total common denominators when they experience this is mind-blowing about, these tall angel type beings that a lot of people experience, do kind of like a metaphorical surgery when they're laying down and they're first starting to feel the effects. They report these beings come around and really invoke this energy of, I want to help and heal you, but you got some nasty stuff stuck in your body and your energy flow. And they begin to almost like reach in to their body with, their force, and they feel pressures and they feel weight, burdens lifted off of them during the experience. And then after the next day, it's amazing. The testimonials, people say they feel better and more in tune with their life path, and improving their situation, whatever was impending them, their traumas, more so than they had from like 20 years of one-on-one therapy, So it intrigues me. All of these drugs, whether it's LSD, Timothy Leary wrote a book about it famously, about its properties. It originally was discovered because they were trying to, look for something that would help people with depression, etc. Magic mushrooms, I myself, this is my testimony. I experienced them in the 90s. There were, in senior year in high school, there were raves in San Francisco, and me and my best girlfriend and girlfriends would notoriously every Thursday and every weekend, we were all about that hippie lifestyle, right? We would go with our water bottles and our glow sticks and all that, and we experimented with taking hallucinogenic drugs, mushrooms and LSD. And, there are so many points I can bring up that would back up the belief that people have, and I have too, that these, if done in a controlled environment, in the right circumstances with somebody guiding you, I feel, or if you're comfortable, like I was comfortable with my best friend, like she was a shaman, I was hers, right? It is so beneficial and very profound and life-changing as far as your perspective. I remember the first time that my best friend and I ever had, synchronized experience, synchronized worlds and visions, that it blew my mind. Even when I was under the influence of that, magical mushroom trip, it blew my mind that her and I, as odd as the descriptions were that we were telling each other, we were seeing the exact same manifested, mutations of the environment around us. Very intriguing. And I think that goes to show you some substance about the collective consciousness, that it is the truth, that there is a collective vibe that we can resonate to. Obviously, we were on the same level, quote unquote, vibing to the same level, and we experienced, without expectation, the same type of, again, mutations or morphing of our reality as we knew it. And her and I are very different people. Love each other, got along like peas in a pod and attached at the hips, but being totally different people as far as the way that we see things around us. That was just intriguing to me. The first time, and then there were, several times. I think maybe I would guess to say hallucinogenic drugs maybe 10 times in my life. I don't think it's more than that. And I definitely experimented back in the day during those times with ecstasy, but that never, the few times I did it, that never invoked a spiritual type of awareness or growing awareness or kindling within me. It could for some other people, but in particular, throughout the ages, by so many various cultures, these spirit quests using, an elixir, a plant, some sort of drug that is used ceremoniously and in a sacred sense to connect to the divine. That is what, throughout these ages, these different cultures did this for. A spirit quest. It was a spiritual coming of age, a pilgrimage that was meant to impart great meaning and significance onto the individual's life, healing and or inspiration, right? The lifting of the veil in a manner that you could pick the time that it lifts, right? Those of us, going through a path to enlightenment, ascension, sometimes the veil is lifted for us in big ways before we are able to kind of control, right? But this is taking a hallucinogenic and boom, within an hour, the veil is lifted. You see so many truths about yourself, your past, the world around you. You see things from a totally different perspective. Your perspective is shifted. You are vulnerable. So this, therefore, I do believe holds credence to those who are saying there are healing properties, therapeutic properties in having a controlled environment in which people do take these substances and work on healing themselves emotionally, internally. So, Spirit shows you a beautiful world, I believe, when the veil is lifted. And during these experiences with these drugs, the veil is lifted. And I do believe that this opens the individual to all kind of, understandings. For instance, one specific case was so neat. This gentleman had gone through 10 years of some real significant battles with cancer, with lymphoma. And, quite often he was in stage 3 and 4, and it would go into remission but not be removed. And, they definitely gave him a diagnosis of being terminal, but were going to prolong his life. And he had a significant fear his entire life of death and dying. So he visited one of these, places in South America in which shaman take you on this experience and really hone in on what you're looking to heal, specifically with ayahuasca. There's also on Netflix, Gwyneth Paltrow has this series, Goop, Goop, and there is one episode on there in which she has her staff go, and they all have different reasons, of course, and issues and things that need to be healed. But it was intriguing because, of course, some of the people, non-believers in any kind of that stuff, they ended up getting a positive benefit out of this. So that was intriguing to me and wonderful. Just beautiful how we can open our hearts and mind and be very mindful that, embarking on this, again, it has to be a controlled environment. I've heard of deaths because people, will be on maybe, psychological or psychiatric medications and or street drugs, and they take the ayahuasca or other hallucinogenics, and there can be reactions. So it has to be done in a very, I believe, again, structured environment with somebody who guiding you, knows what kind of dosing is appropriate to heal what you're looking to heal. And I feel that by raising our vibrations to that frequency we experience when we are on mushrooms or ayahuasca, peyote, LSD, this aligns us with some essence, with some plane of the divine. It matches our, different planes together. Even if we are not completely looking through a clear crystal, glass window, it's almost like a tempered glass or faded fogged glass. We can see little portions of it. So in any case, guys, this is all I had to talk about the potential of benefiting from hallucinogenics like ayahuasca. Blessings, love, and light.